Commander Jake Morrison stood at the large window of the UES horizon and looked out at the stars. The colors of the distant nebula painted the darkness with shades of blue and purple. This nebula marked the edge of human territory, the place where their space ended and the rest of the galaxy began. Jake had been a commander for 5 years now, and he had seen many strange things in his time. But lately something felt wrong. He could not explain it, but there was a feeling in his gut that would not go away. The human race had been traveling through space for 300 years. They had left Earth and found new worlds to live on. They built colonies and space stations. They made friends with some alien races and learned to avoid others. Everything seemed normal, but Jake knew better. Lieutenant Sophie Graham walked up to him holding a small electronic pad. She was young, only 26 years old, but she was smart and good at her job. Jake trusted her. "Sir, we got another message from the Valorian fleet," Sophie said. Her voice sounded confused. "They want permission to fly through our space again." Jake turned to look at her. "Again, that is the 3rd time this month." "Yes, sir." "And they are offering to pay more money this time. 10,000 credits extra." Jake felt his confusion grow stronger. The Valorians were proud warriors. They had one of the biggest empires in the galaxy. Their ships were fast and powerful. They did not ask for permission from anyone, and they certainly did not pay extra money just to fly through someone else's territory. "Something is not right," Jake said quietly. "The Valorians never act like this." Sophie nodded. "I thought the same thing, sir. Should I tell them no?" "No, let them pass. But I want our patrol ships to follow them. Stay far back so they do not notice. I want to know what they do and where they go." "Yes, sir." Sophie made notes on her pad and walked away. Jake turned back to the window. His mind went back to the meeting he attended last month on Nexus Prime. Nexus Prime was the capital world of the Galactic Council, the place where all the different alien races met to discuss important matters. At that meeting, Ambassador Kelvin Hayes had presented humanity's request to claim 3 more star systems. These systems were on the edge of human space, and they had valuable minerals and good planets for colonies. Usually, when any race asked for new territory, there were long debates. Other races would argue. They would make counteroffers. They would ask for something in return. Sometimes these debates went on for months, but not this time. When Kelvin finished speaking, the alien delegates simply nodded. The Valorian representative said yes. The Celtic leader agreed. Even the ancient Drexians, who normally argued about everything, just accepted it without a single question. The whole thing took less than 10 minutes. Jake remembered feeling surprised. He looked around the room and saw that Ambassador Hayes looked surprised too. But the aliens did not seem to think anything was strange. They just moved on to the next topic. After the meeting, Jake had tried to talk to some of the alien delegates. He wanted to understand why they agreed so easily. But every alien he approached suddenly remembered they had somewhere else to be. They made excuses and walked away quickly. The Celtic ambassador actually turned around and went the other direction when he saw Jake coming. Now, standing on his ship and watching the stars, Jake thought about all the strange things he had noticed over the past year. It was not just the Valorians asking permission to cross human space. Other races did it too. The Drexians changed their trade routes to go around human territory, even though it took them weeks longer. The Ythrian merchant ships always stopped at the border and waited for clearance before entering. Every alien race seemed to be very careful about human space. They treated the borders like they were crossing into dangerous territory. But why? Humans were not the strongest military power. They did not have the most advanced technology. They were actually one of the younger races in the galaxy. Sophie came back with another report. "Sir, the Valorian ships are moving through Sector 7. Our patrol is following at a safe distance." "Good, keep monitoring them." Jake paused. "Sophie, have you noticed anything strange about how the aliens act around us?" Sophie thought for a moment. "Now that you mention it, yes. They seem nervous. Last week, I was at the supply station near the border. A group of Celtic traders were there. When I walked into the room, they all stopped talking. They just stared at me until I left. Did they seem angry? No, not angry. More like scared. Or maybe worried. I am not sure how to describe it." Jake nodded slowly. "I have seen the same thing. At the council meeting, none of the aliens would look me in the eye. They were polite but distant, like they wanted to stay as far away as possible. Why would they be scared of us? Sophie asked. We are not threatening anyone. I do not know, but I intend to find out. Over the next few days, Jake started collecting information. He asked other human officers if they noticed anything unusual in their dealings with alien races. The answers he got made the mystery deeper. Captain Ryan Foster, who commanded a trade ship, reported that alien merchants always seemed in a hurry to finish business with humans. They never tried to negotiate prices down. They just accepted whatever humans asked for. Lieutenant Commander Nicole Brooks, who worked at a border station, said that alien ships always followed the rules perfectly when entering human space. No one ever tried to sneak in or bend the regulations. They filed all their paperwork correctly and waited patiently for approval. Commander Peter Logan, who led a scientific research team, mentioned that alien scientists refused to do joint research projects inside human territory. They would work with humans anywhere else, but they always insisted on meeting in neutral space. Jake compiled all this information and sent a report to Admiral Kate Sullivan at Fleet Command. He explained his observations and his concerns. He wrote that something was making the alien races nervous about humans, and he thought it was important to find out what. 3 days later, he got a response. Admiral Sullivan wanted to see him in person. She was sending a ship to pick him up. As Jake prepared for the trip to Luna Station, he looked out the window one more time. The nebula still glowed in the distance, marking the edge of human space. Beyond it lay thousands of alien worlds and millions of stars. Somewhere out there was the answer to his questions. Somewhere in the vast galaxy was the reason why everyone seemed afraid of the humans. Jake did not know it yet, but the truth was far stranger and more frightening than anything he could imagine. The humans were living in a place that should have killed them all. And every alien in the galaxy knew it. Dr. Lisa Park stared at her computer screen with wide eyes. She had been working in her laboratory for 6 hours straight, and her coffee had gone cold long ago. But she could not stop looking at what she had found. Lisa was a science officer on Luna Station. Her job was to study old alien technology and try to understand how it worked. Most of the time it was boring work. She looked at broken machines and tried to figure out what they used to do. But today was different. 3 weeks ago, a salvage team had found a derelict space station floating near the border of human space. The station was old, maybe 1,000 years old. It belonged to the Drexians, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. The salvage team brought back several data cores from the station, and Lisa's job was to read them. The first 2 data cores contained nothing interesting. Just old supply records and maintenance logs. But the 3rd core was different. It contained maps. Thousands and thousands of star maps. Lisa had spent days trying to decode the Drexian language on the maps. It was hard work because the Drexians used different symbols back then, but she finally managed to translate enough to understand what she was looking at, and what she saw made her blood run cold. She grabbed her communicator and called Commander Morrison. He was still on his way to Luna Station, but his ship should be close by now. Commander Morrison, you need to see this right away, Lisa said. Her voice shook a little. What did you find? Jake's voice came through the speaker. I cannot explain it over the comm. You need to see it yourself. How soon can you get here? We dock in 2 hours. Can it wait that long? Yes, but please hurry. 2 hours felt like 2 days, but finally Jake arrived at her laboratory. Lieutenant Sophie Graham came with him. They both looked tired from their journey. Okay, Dr. Park, we are here, Jake said. What is so urgent? Lisa pulled up the star maps on the large display screen. These are Drexian survey maps from 4,000 years ago, before humans even had spaceflight. Jake looked at the swirling patterns of stars and symbols. All right. What am I looking for? Lisa highlighted a section of the map. The area glowed red on the screen. This region here. Do you recognize it? Sophie leaned closer. That looks like our territory, the area around Earth and the colonies. Exactly, Lisa said. Now look at this. She zoomed in on some alien text next to the highlighted region. Below the text, she had written an English translation. This designation means Quarantine Zone Omega. Another translation could be the Forbidden Reach. Jake frowned. Quarantine? Why would they quarantine our space? Lisa pulled up another file. I found mission reports in the data core. The Drexians sent exploration fleets into this region. 12 fleets over a period of 500 years. And what happened to them? Sophie asked. Lisa met her eyes. They all disappeared. Every single ship, every single probe. Once they crossed into that region, they never sent another message. They just vanished. The room was quiet for a moment. Jake walked closer to the screen and studied the maps. How many ships are we talking about? The records are not complete, but at least 12 full exploration fleets. Each fleet had between 10 and 20 ships. That means somewhere between 120 to 240 ships went into our space and never came back. Sophie sat down in a chair. She looked pale. But we have been living in that space for 300 years. We have colonies on dozens of worlds. Millions of people live there. If it was so dangerous, we would know about it. That is what makes this so strange, Lisa said. She pulled up more documents. After the 12th fleet disappeared, the Galactic Council declared the entire region off limits. They put warning beacons around it. They made it a crime to go anywhere near it. The punishment was death. For 3,000 years, Jake asked. Yes. For 3,000 years, every race in the galaxy avoided that region like it was cursed. Then humans appeared, broadcasting radio signals from Earth. We were right in the middle of the Forbidden Zone and we had no idea. Jake ran his hand through his hair. He did this when he was thinking hard about something. So what did they do? Did they try to warn us? Lisa shook her head. No, that is the strangest part. When humans made first contact and started expanding into space, the Galactic Council quietly removed all the warnings. They erased the quarantine from their official records. They acted like it never existed. Why would they do that? Sophie asked. I think they were afraid, Lisa said quietly. Think about it from their perspective. They sent hundreds of ships into that region and all those ships died. Then humans show up living right in the heart of it and we are perfectly fine. We are building cities and flying around like nothing is wrong. Jake understood what she meant. They think we are immune to whatever killed their people. Or worse, Lisa added. They might think we are the thing that killed their people. Sophie stood up quickly. That is crazy. We are not killing anyone. We did not even know they tried to explore our space. We know that, Lisa said. But they do not. From their point of view, we are a species that lives comfortably in a place that destroyed everyone else who tried to enter. We are either incredibly lucky or incredibly dangerous. Jake thought about all the strange behavior he had noticed. The way aliens avoided eye contact. The way they hurried through human space. The way they agreed to anything humans asked for. It all made sense now. They were not being respectful. They were being careful. What else did you find? Jake asked. Is there any information about what actually happened to those ships? Lisa pulled up more files. Some of the early mission reports survived. The first few fleets sent back messages before they disappeared. Let me read you some entries. She cleared her throat and read from the screen. Drexian Fleet 7, Day 15. Our instruments are showing strange readings. Gravity appears to fluctuate without any visible source. The crew is reporting unusual sounds in empty corridors, requesting permission to return to base. Did they get permission? Sophie asked. No. The next entry says permission denied. Continue mission. Lisa scrolled down. 3 days later, Day 18. Half the crew is now reporting the sounds. Some claim to see shadows moving where no shadows should exist. Ship sensors detect nothing. Medical officers suggest possible shared delusion. And then, Jake prompted, Day 20. Captain's log. We are turning back. I do not care about orders anymore. Something is wrong with this place. 3 crew members have locked themselves in their quarters. They refuse to come out. They say something is watching them. I can feel it too. Like eyes on the back of my neck. We are leaving now. That was the last message, Lisa said. The fleet never made it home. Sophie wrapped her arms around herself. That is terrifying. But we do not experience any of that. I have flown through human space hundreds of times. I never saw shadows or heard strange sounds. I know, Lisa said. That is what I cannot figure out. Other species go into our space and experience all these horrible things. But we experience nothing. It is like whatever is there cannot see us, or does not care about us. Jake looked at the maps again, all those red zones marking forbidden space, all those lost ships and dead explorers. And humans had just moved in and made it their home without ever knowing the danger. We need to tell Admiral Sullivan about this, Jake said. She needs to see all of it. Already done, Lisa replied. I sent her a full report an hour ago. She wants to meet with all of us tomorrow morning. That night, Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about the Drexian explorers and their final messages. The fear in those words. the way they described something watching them, something they could not see or understand. He got up and went to the observation deck. Earth hung in the distance, blue and beautiful. Millions of people lived down there, going about their lives. None of them knew they were living in what the galaxy considered a haunted house. Sophie found him there an hour later. "Could not sleep either?" she asked. "No. I keep thinking about those lost ships." "Me too." Sophie stood next to him and looked at Earth. "Do you think there really is something out there? Something dangerous?" "I do not know. But I think we need to find out. Because if there is, we have been very lucky so far, and luck does not last forever." "Or maybe we are not lucky," Sophie said quietly. "Maybe we are something else entirely. Something that does not need luck because whatever is out there leaves us alone on purpose." Jake looked at her. "What do you mean?" "Lisa said it earlier. What if we are not the victims? What if we are the thing other species should be afraid of?" The thought hung in the air between them. It was a disturbing idea, but Jake could not dismiss it. Somewhere in human space, something had destroyed hundreds of alien ships, and humans lived there comfortably, never noticing anything wrong. What did that say about humanity? Jake did not have an answer. But he knew tomorrow's meeting with Admiral Sullivan would be very interesting. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat behind her desk and looked at the three people in front of her. Commander Jake Morrison, Lieutenant Sophie Graham, and Dr. Lisa Park all waited for her to speak. The Admiral had read Lisa's report twice already, but she still found it hard to believe. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," Kate said. "The galaxy's elder races lost hundreds of ships in what is now human space. They declared the entire region forbidden for 3,000 years. Then we showed up and they just let us move in without warning us. Is that right?" "Yes, Admiral," Lisa confirmed. "That is exactly what happened." Kate leaned back in her chair. She had been in the military for 30 years and thought she had seen everything. But this was something new. "And you think they did this because they are afraid of us?" "I think they are confused by us," Lisa said. "And fear often comes from confusion. We are living and thriving in a place that killed everyone else. They do not understand how that is possible." Kate stood up and walked to the window. Her office had a beautiful view of Earth. "What do we actually know about what happened to those alien ships? Do we have any hard facts?" Jake spoke up. Dr. Park found some mission logs. They describe psychological effects, hallucinations, paranoia, strange sensor readings, but nothing concrete. "I want to know more," Kate said firmly. "We need a full investigation. I want every xenoarchaeological site in human space examined. I want our intelligence division to dig into every first contact report, every treaty, every conversation with alien species. If there are more clues out there, I want them found." "Yes, Admiral," Jake said. Kate turned to face them. "This is classified at the highest level. Nobody outside this room talks about it without my permission. Understand?" They all nodded. "Good. Commander Morrison, you are in charge of the investigation. Dr. Park, you will lead the research team. Lieutenant Graham, you will coordinate with intelligence services. I want reports every week. Now get to work." Over the next 6 months, the investigation team worked day and night. They searched through old archives and forgotten databases. They interviewed human explorers who had spent years in deep space. They talked to diplomats who had dealt with alien races. Slowly, a picture started to form. Agent Paul Grant from Naval Intelligence became a key member of the team. He was good at finding information that other people wanted to keep hidden. He used his contacts in the intelligence community to acquire secret documents from 17 different alien species. One day, Paul called Jake to a secure meeting room. "You need to see what I found," Paul said. He looked excited. Jake sat down and Paul activated a holographic display. Documents in various alien languages floated in the air. "These are incident reports from different races," Paul explained. "Valorian, Celtic, Drexian, and 14 others. They all describe attempts to explore what they called the Dead Reaches. That is their name for our space." "The Dead Reaches," Jake repeated. "That is pleasant. It gets worse. Look at this Celtic report from 3,000 years ago." Paul pulled up a document and translated it. A Celtic science vessel entered the region to study an unusual star. After 2 weeks, they sent a distress call. The captain reported that his instruments were showing impossible readings. "What kind of readings?" He said his sensors detected a planet that should not exist. It appeared on every instrument. But when they looked out the window, they saw nothing. Empty space. The captain ordered the ship to leave immediately. Did they make it out? No. The final message says the crew started seeing things. Shapes in the corridors. Voices when no one was speaking. The captain's last words were that something had gotten aboard the ship. Paul paused. They never heard from that ship again. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. And we never experience any of this? That is what scares them, Paul said. I also found this. He pulled up another document, this one from the Valorians. This is a report from 200 years ago, right after we made first contact. The Valorian Empire sent a stealth probe into human space to observe us. They were spying on us. Yes, the probe followed a human cargo ship for 3 months. It went through several systems in our territory, places where Valorian ships had disappeared centuries before. What did the probe see? Paul smiled grimly. Nothing unusual. The human ship worked perfectly. The crew was healthy and happy. They stopped at colonies and delivered supplies. Everything was normal. The probe detected no anomalies, no strange phenomena, nothing that would explain why their ancestors died there. So from their perspective, we are just immune to whatever the danger is. Exactly, and that terrifies them more than the danger itself. Over the weeks, more information came in. Dr. Lisa Park made several important discoveries. She found that human explorers had built colonies on worlds where aliens reported seeing impossible things. One human colony sat on a planet where a Drexian fleet had disappeared 500 years earlier. Lisa visited that colony herself. It was called New Boston, and it had 50,000 people living there. She interviewed the colonists and asked if they ever experienced anything strange. Strange how? Asked Mayor George Holland. Unusual readings on instruments. Unexplained sounds. Anything that might seem out of place, Lisa explained. George laughed. Doc, this is a frontier colony. Instruments malfunction all the time. We hear strange sounds because we have wildlife we are still discovering, but nothing supernatural if that is what you are asking. No hallucinations, no feelings of being watched. Only when my wife thinks I forgot our anniversary, George joked. Lisa talked to dozens of colonists. Scientists, farmers, teachers, and engineers. Not one of them reported anything unusual. They all lived normal, happy lives on a world that aliens considered cursed. Back on Luna Station, the team gathered to share their findings. Jake stood in front of a large display showing all their collected data. Here is what we know, Jake said. 17 different alien species sent ships into human space over the course of 4,000 years. All of them reported psychological effects, paranoia, hallucinations, and fear. Many ships were lost, but humans experienced none of this. So why are we different? Sophie asked. Dr. Lisa Park had a theory. I have been researching human evolution and comparing it to other spacefaring species. Earth was an unusually violent world. Our ancestors had to survive against massive predators, ice ages, droughts, competing human tribes. Our evolution was driven by conflict and survival. And, Jake prompted, most alien species evolved intelligence as a way to deal with environmental challenges, changing seasons, natural disasters. But humans evolved intelligence partly to deal with other predators. We learned to hunt things that hunted us. We learned to recognize threats and overcome them. Paul nodded slowly. You think we are wired differently because of that? I think our brains might process threats differently. Whatever is in our space, whatever drove the aliens mad, maybe we just do not perceive it as a threat. Or maybe we do perceive it, but our evolutionary history has made us immune to its effects. That is just a theory, Sophie said. We do not have proof. No, but it fits the facts, Lisa argued. Think about human history. We survived extinction events that killed most species on Earth. We adapted to every environment on the planet. We are persistence hunters. We do not give up. Maybe that same quality protects us from whatever is out there. Kate Sullivan, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. So you are saying we are too stubborn to be scared? Lisa smiled slightly. In a way, yes. Or maybe we are too aggressive. Humans are one of the few species that actively seeks out danger. We explore. We take risks. Most alien species only left their planets when they had to, but humans wanted to leave. We wanted to see what was out there. The aliens think we are predators, Jake said quietly. They think we might be, Lisa corrected. They see a species that lives comfortably in their nightmare and never notices anything wrong. What conclusion would you draw? The room was silent. Everyone thought about the implications. Finally, Paul spoke. So what do we do with this information? Do we tell the public? Do we warn people? Kate shook her head. No, if we tell people they are living in a cosmic death trap, there will be panic. And if we tell the aliens that we still do not know what the danger is, they might panic too. So we just keep living here? Sophie asked. We keep living here, Kate confirmed. But we also keep investigating. Maybe there is no danger anymore. Maybe whatever was here is gone, or maybe it is still here and we just cannot see it. Or maybe it sees us, Jake added, and decides to leave us alone. That thought stayed with all of them. Somewhere in the darkness of space, something existed, something that had killed hundreds of alien explorers, something that drove advanced civilizations to madness, and that something had never bothered humans at all. The question was not whether they should be afraid. The question was whether they were the thing everyone else should fear. The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Ambassador Kelvin Hayes was drinking coffee in his office when his assistant brought him an encrypted transmission. The message was marked urgent and private. Kelvin opened it and read the contents twice. Then he called Admiral Sullivan. We have a problem, Kelvin said. Or maybe an opportunity. A Valorian historian wants to meet with us. He says he has information about the dead reaches. How does he know we call it that? Kate asked. He does not. That is what they call it? He wants to meet in person. He says he is dying and wants to tell the truth before he passes. Kate thought for a moment. Set it up. Take Commander Morrison and Agent Grant with you. I want people there who know what questions to ask. 3 days later, Kelvin, Jake, and Paul arrived at a neutral space station in the border region between human and Valorian territory. The station was old and quiet, used mostly by traders who wanted privacy. They met in a small conference room. The Valorian historian was already there, waiting. His name was Thexelar, and he looked ancient. His scales were dull and gray. His multiple eyes were clouded with age. He moved slowly as if every movement caused pain. Thank you for coming, Thexelar said. His voice was raspy and the translator struggled to render it into English. I do not have much time left. The doctors give me perhaps a month. I wanted to do this before I die. What is it you want to tell us? Kelvin asked gently. Thexelar looked at each of them in turn. The truth about your space. About why we let you settle there. About why we never warned you. Jake leaned forward. We know about the ships that disappeared. We found the old records. Then you know we are afraid, Thexelar said simply. You know that for thousands of years we avoided your region of space like it was death itself. Why did you not warn us when we made first contact? Paul asked. The old Valorian made a sound that might have been a sigh. Because we were cowards. And because we were curious. When your radio signals first reached us, we thought it was a mistake. We thought perhaps it was an automated system broadcasting from a dead civilization. But then we detected more signals. And ships, and colonies. You realized we were alive, Kelvin said. More than alive, thriving. We sent probes to observe you. What we saw made no sense. You were living in the heart of the dead reaches, building cities on cursed worlds, flying through space that had swallowed our bravest explorers, and nothing happened to you. So you decided to study us instead of warning us, Jake said. There was no anger in his voice, just understanding. Yes. The Galactic Council met in secret. We debated for months. Some wanted to tell you everything and help you evacuate. Others wanted to quarantine you there. But in the end, we decided to do nothing. We watched and waited to see what would happen. You used us as test subjects, Paul said flatly. Thexelar did not deny it. Yes, we wanted to see if you would survive. If you did, perhaps we could learn something. Perhaps we could finally understand what exists in that region. And if we all died? Kelvin asked. Then we would have known to maintain the quarantine. The old alien looked down. I am not proud of this decision. I voted against it, but I was in the minority. Jake felt anger rising but pushed it down. What exactly is out there? What killed your people? We do not know, Thexelar admitted. That is the truth. For 4,000 years we have studied this question. We have theories but no answers. Tell us the theories, Paul said. Thexelar activated a small device and a holographic display appeared. It showed a map of human space. Some believe it is a spatial anomaly, a wound in the fabric of reality left over from an ancient war. The Drexians think it might be a weapon that was never turned off. A weapon? Jake asked. Yes. Millions of years ago, there were civilizations in this galaxy far more advanced than any that exist today. They fought wars we cannot imagine. Some theorists believe one of those weapons is still active in your region, a defensive system that attacks any ship that enters. But it does not attack human ships, Sophie pointed out. Exactly, which leads to another theory. Some believe it is not a weapon but a life form, something that exists in dimensions we cannot perceive. It reacts to certain types of consciousness or technology. For reasons we do not understand, it ignores humans. Paul made notes on his pad. What else? The Drexian mystics have a different idea. They believe the region is haunted. They say it is a wound in the universe where the barrier between our reality and something else has grown thin. They claim things can pass through from the other side. Ghosts? Jake said skeptically. Not ghosts as you might think of them. More like echoes, impressions. They say the region remembers the violence that happened there long ago, and it replays that violence on anyone who enters. Except humans, Kelvin said. Except humans, Thexelar agreed. And that is what frightens us most. The room was quiet. Jake looked at the holographic map and tried to imagine living his whole life in a place that might be haunted or might contain an ancient weapon or might be home to invisible monsters. You said you were curious, Kelvin said. What did you hope to learn from watching us? We hoped you would map the danger for us. Every world you colonized, every route you traveled safely, that was information. You were exploring the dead reaches without knowing it. Over the past 300 years, you have shown us that vast areas of the region are safe for your species. Safe for us, but not for you, Paul noted. Correct. We tried sending ships along your routes. We thought if humans could travel safely, perhaps we could too. But our ships still experienced problems. 2 Valorian scouts followed a human freighter through Sector 9. The human ship had no issues. Our scouts both reported hallucinations. One made it back. The other did not. Jake felt a chill. When did this happen? 20 years ago. We have tried similar tests with other species. Same result. Whatever exists there, it only tolerates humans. Or it recognizes humans as something it should not touch, Kelvin said quietly. Thexelar nodded slowly. That is our greatest fear, Ambassador. We have many theories about what exists in the dead reaches, but we have one theory about humans that frightens us more than all the others combined. What is that? Jake asked. The old Valorian looked directly at him with all his cloudy eyes. That you belong there. That whatever is in that region, it knows you. It recognizes you as its own kind. That is absurd, Paul said. Is it? Think about your history. Humans are one of the most aggressive species in the galaxy. You evolved as apex predators. You conquered your entire world and then looked to the stars for more territory. You wage war with an efficiency that disturbs other races. You create weapons that horrify us. Many species wage war, Kelvin protested. Yes, but not like you. Most species fight when they must. Humans fight because you can. You seek out conflict. You test yourselves against every challenge. Even your entertainment often involves simulated combat. Thexelar paused. What kind of species finds violence entertaining? Jake wanted to argue but found he could not. Humans did enjoy violent sports. Their movies and games often featured battles and conflicts. Their history was written in wars. You think we are monsters, Jake said softly. I think you might be survivors from a time when monsters walked the galaxy. Thexelar replied. I think perhaps your ancestors came from the dead reaches originally. Perhaps they left long ago and recently returned home. And whatever still lives there recognizes you. That is just a theory, Kelvin said. But he did not sound certain. Yes, just a theory. But consider this. You live comfortably in a cosmic graveyard. You build your homes on worlds where we lost thousands. You travel through space that drove our people insane. And you never notice anything wrong. The old Valorian's voice grew quieter. What does that make you if not the thing we should fear? Nobody had an answer. Thexelar stood slowly with great effort. I have told you what I know. What you do with this information is your choice. But understand that every species in the Galactic Council knows these theories. They may smile and trade with you, but they are afraid. They wonder if the humans are the survivors or the monsters. Or both, Jake said. Or both, Thexelar agreed. The meeting with Thexelar changed everything. Jake, Kelvin, and Paul returned to Luna Station and made a full report to Admiral Sullivan. She listened to the entire story without interrupting. When they finished, Kate sat in silence for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to her window. Earth turned slowly below, peaceful and beautiful. So the galaxy thinks we might be ancient monsters who came home, Kate said. That is quite a theory. It explains their behavior, Kelvin said. The way they avoid us. The way they agree to everything we ask for. They are not being polite. They are being careful. Do you believe it? Kate asked. Do you think humans somehow came from this Dead Reaches region originally? Jake spoke up. I think it does not matter what we believe. What matters is that they believe it. Or at least they fear it might be true. Commander Morrison is right, Paul added. Whether the theory is correct or not, it affects how every species in the galaxy treats us. They see us as dangerous. Kate turned to face them. Then we need to decide how to handle this. Do we tell the public? Do we confirm their fears? Or do we keep it quiet? If we tell the public, there will be panic, Kelvin warned. Imagine telling billions of people they have been living in a cosmic death trap for 300 years. Imagine telling them that aliens think they might be descended from monsters. But if we keep it secret and it gets out anyway, we lose credibility, Paul countered. Secrets like this always come out eventually. Kate made her decision. We classify this at the highest level. Only the top leadership of the colonies and the military need to know. The general public does not need this burden. What about our expansion plans? Jake asked. We have proposals to claim 15 more star systems. We proceed as normal, Kate said firmly. If the other species want us to map the dead reaches for them, we might as well get something out of it. Besides, every report shows these systems are safe for human habitation. Over the next year, the truth about human space spread quietly through the Galactic Council, not officially, but through whispers and rumors. The story of Thexalar's confession leaked somehow. Maybe the old Valorian told others before he died. Maybe someone at the neutral station overheard their conversation. However it happened, within months every major civilization knew that humans had been told the truth. They knew that humans understood why everyone feared them, and that made things worse. Jake found himself reassigned to diplomatic duties. His new job was to serve as a military liaison to the Galactic Council. He spent his days navigating a political landscape that had become strange and tense. The aliens were more polite than ever. They agreed to human proposals without debate. They offered trade deals that heavily favored humanity. They stayed far away from human borders unless absolutely necessary. Lieutenant Commander Sophie Graham, who had been promoted, joined Jake in his new role. Together they managed the dozens of requests that came in every week from alien species wanting to study human biology, human psychology, and human culture. They want to understand us, Sophie said one day as they reviewed another research proposal. They think if they can figure out why we are immune to the dead reaches, they can use that information. Let them study, Jake said. Maybe they will find answers we have not found ourselves. But the research yielded nothing useful. Human biology was different from alien biology, but not in ways that explained their immunity. Human psychology was aggressive and competitive, but other species shared those traits. There was no clear answer. Agent Paul Grant, now promoted to Director of Naval Intelligence, had a different concern. The problem is not what they are finding, he told Jake during a private meeting. The problem is what they are not finding. Every test shows that humans are just another species, not particularly special, not particularly dangerous, and that scares them more. Why? Jake asked. Because if there is nothing special about humans, then the only explanation for our immunity is that whatever exists in the dead reaches chooses to leave us alone. And if it chooses to leave us alone, that suggests a relationship, maybe even an alliance. Jake had not considered that angle. You think they believe we are working with whatever is out there? Some of them do. I have intercepted communications between Celtic officials discussing the possibility that humans are being protected, that we made some kind of deal with the entity in the dead reaches. That is paranoid. Maybe. But paranoia drives politics. And right now, every species in the galaxy is paranoid about us. Despite the fear, or perhaps because of it, humanity continued to expand. The Galactic Council approved every territorial claim. They granted trade rights and mining permits without negotiation. They gave humans whatever they asked for. Ambassador Kelvin Hayes understood what was happening. During a meeting with Jake and Sophie, he explained it clearly. They are bribing us, Kelvin said. They hope that if they are generous and cooperative, we will stay in our space and not expand into theirs. We have no intention of invading anyone, Sophie protested. They do not know that. From their perspective, we are a species that lives in their nightmare. We might be monsters, we might be something worse, So they smile and give us gifts and pray we stay content with what we have. Jake found the situation frustrating. We did not ask for any of this. We just wanted to explore space and build a better life for our people. I know, Kelvin said sympathetically, but we cannot change how they see us. All we can do is be the best neighbors we can be, show them through our actions that we are not the monsters they fear. But actions took time and fear was immediate. Jake saw it every day in how aliens behaved around him. They would not meet his eyes. They spoke quietly and carefully. They left rooms when he entered. One day he encountered a young Celtic scientist in a corridor of Nexus Prime. The alien was carrying data pads and not paying attention. They nearly collided. The scientist looked up, saw Jake's human face, and dropped everything. The data pads clattered to the floor. I apologized, the scientist stammered. Please forgive me. Jake bent to help pick up the data pads. It was an accident. No harm done. But the scientist backed away, leaving the data pads on the floor. The alien turned and hurried away, almost running. Sophie, who had witnessed the encounter, sighed. This is getting worse, not better. Give it time, Jake said, though he did not feel confident. Time passed. Years turned into decades. Humanity continued to expand slowly into the dead reaches. New colonies were established. New trade routes were opened. And nothing bad happened. Ships traveled safely. Colonists lived peaceful lives. Scientists made discoveries. Everything was normal. Gradually, very gradually, some of the fear began to ease. Younger aliens who had grown up with humans as part of the Galactic Council were less afraid. They still treated humans with caution, but it was respectful caution rather than terrified avoidance. But the older species remembered. They kept their distance. They approved human requests without question. They made sure never to give humanity a reason to become hostile. Jake, now promoted to admiral and head of diplomatic operations, understood that this was how things would be for a long time. Maybe forever. He stood in his office on Nexus Prime and looked at the galactic map displayed on his wall. The map showed thousands of civilizations and millions of worlds. Human space was small in comparison, just a few hundred systems. But on the map, human space was marked with a special border. Not hostile red or neutral blue, but a unique color that meant something different. A color that said, "Here there be humans." Sophie, now a full commander and his second-in-command, came to stand beside him. "Do you ever wonder if they are right?" Sophie asked quietly. "If there really is something out there, and it really is protecting us?" "Every day," Jake admitted. "But I have been to dozens of human worlds. I have talked to thousands of people. None of them have ever seen or felt anything unusual. If something is protecting us, it does its job invisibly. Maybe that is the point. Maybe it does not want us to know." Jake thought about the lost Drexian fleets, the vanished Valorian explorers, the Celtic ships that went mad in empty space, all those deaths, all that fear confined to a region where humans now lived and raised children and built futures. Or maybe there is nothing there at all, Jake said. Maybe it was always just a natural phenomenon that affects alien biology, but not human biology. Maybe the mystery is simpler than everyone thinks. Do you believe that? No, Jake said honestly. I think something is there. I think it has been there for a very long time, and I think it knows we exist. But it leaves us alone. Yes, and that is what scares everyone. They stood in silence, looking at the map. Beyond human space, the galaxy stretched vast and ancient. Somewhere out there, civilizations older than human history still told stories about the dead reaches. They still warned their children about the cursed region where brave explorers went to die. And in that cursed region, humanity had built a home. The Galactic Council continued its session in the chambers below. Delegates from hundreds of species gathered to discuss trade and treaties and territory. When the human delegation entered, the chamber fell briefly silent. Then the aliens nodded respectfully and made room. No one voted against human proposals anymore. No one questioned human territorial claims. No one suggested that humanity should be limited or controlled.